second. Okay. I call the regular meeting of the Milliken Board of Trustees for June 24, 2020 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, will the town clerk please call roll?
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Wakeman?
Here.
Trustee Smith?
Here.
Trustee Granquist?
Here.
Trustee Rodriguez?
Here.
Trustee Trailer?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Here.
Mayor Austin?
Here. Thank you. Does anyone have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mayor, I have a change, please.
Okay.
Under the action agenda, item C, for Beef and Bean Day 2020 presentation, I'd like to move that to the first section as item A.
Okay. Any other changes? Okay, I'll take a motion on the agenda.
I motion.
That we approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second the motion.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Trustee Granquist?
Yes.
Trustee Trailer?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Citizens' comment. Do we have any citizens' comments tonight? Anybody that wishes to get up and speak? No? I'll skip over that portion. Meeting minutes. Is there any discussion or comments of the meeting for June 10th?
Ms. Mayor,
Yeah.
I would like to offer a correction under Town Administrator's Report. Bullet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Judge Anglin's last name is spelled incorrectly, and for the record, I'd like that to go in with it spelled properly so that it shows respect to the gentleman we just hired for judge.
Okay. Any other changes or updates? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve June 10th, 2020 meeting minutes.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Trailer?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Granquist?
Yes.
Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Acknowledgement of paid list of bills. Does anybody have any questions on the list of bills? Hearing no questions, we will move to the town administrator's report.
Yes, Mayor. Just some updates for the town board. TRPR has informed me that they are hoping to have the pool open by July 6th. They had a special board meeting where they instructed him to try and get it open by as soon as possible, and he thinks that'll be the 6th. I will have a firmer date this Friday. They're working on the pool right now, trying to determine if they'll be able to make that date. And if so, I'll send out a note to each of you so that you know ahead of time, but then we'll also post it on the website to try and advertise that for everyone. Our Centennial Lake flume is being installed now. We had some conflicts with infrastructure in the ground. All of that's been resolved, and we've got the flume located in a place that we can apply it now. So we'll be able to have that operative by Monday, Tuesday. We do have lots of Keith, our Parks Directors, worked with the different entities to tell them that we may have some issues with water over the weekend, but we've got rain scheduled Thursday and Friday. I put in a call to try to get scheduled. There's actually rain coming Thursday and Friday. No one seemed to think that there was going to be a problem. The drawdown on Centennial Lake doesn't seem to be real critical. I think we're going to be fine going through the weekend, and then we'll be able to recharge the lake on starting Tuesday, so we should be good there. The flume was finished on the Ehrlich Lake, and it was operative and running while I was away on vacation, and we are charging Ehrlich Lake with water now also. The town worked in conjunction with the HOA at Centennial Farms to clean up that ditch that's been a problem for a long time along 46. Our deal with the HOA was if they worked to clean the ditch, we would go ahead and handle the hydrojetting of the culverts in order to make sure that the water flowed and it didn't build up again and silt in the ditch. The weeds are gone. It looks a lot nicer. You know, there is a dirt scar there, and it's washing a lot of dirt down, which is getting into Ehrlich Lake. But the eyesore of all the weeds has been cleaned up, and it was a good... we supplied staff, and we supplied the vac truck. I think our cost on the vac truck was about $2,000, and the town took care of that process. We used the vac truck for several other things that we needed to take care of over the period of time. There have been some long-term issues between the town and the V Hills, which are just down here on the corner behind the police station. I met with Bill when I first got here, Bill Vigil. Chief Garcia introduced me to him. We talked. We heard his concerns. I told him as soon as I had the right staff available to me, we'd be over there to work on it. At the time, we did not have staff that I thought could handle the issue. Scott Clem, our new streets guy, and I have been working with Bill. We've been working on the project, and we've got the drain all cleaned out. We've come to a solution on his ability to get his ag water over to his ag property and to allow our drain to drain. We've jetted out that pipe so that it flows now, so that's all been fixed. Great Western Oil has sent me a lease that will be presented to you at the next board meeting. They wish to lease the property or the minerals under the Martin property, which is off of Josephine that the town got out of that FEMA project rehab where the trailer park was. It appears that the town owns those mineral rights, and they will look to lease those. Their gentleman, Carlos, it would be willing to come to our July 8th meeting if you have additional questions of him. I vetted through his proposal and went over the numbers with him, and everything looks to be adequate. The last time where the board voted no was on sale of mineral rights. Prior to that, through Great Western also, there was a small piece of land that was up for lease, and the board voted to lease that to Great Western with royalties. This constitutes 1.8 acres. We will have that information to you for the next board meeting. And if you... I'll probably just have Carlos come to the meeting anyway, so he can answer your questions directly. Through our insurance, we have a replacement of the HVAC units on the roof of Town Hall. That is currently scheduled to take place July 1st. There'll probably be a crane on location. They'll lift the old ones off and put the new ones on. And if we don't have air conditioning on that day, I'll probably take that for a vacation day. Cheryl can handle everything in my absence. A couple of things that we're looking at as we get moving forward too is we're still hopeful of a fall cleanup with Waste Management to go door to door, trying to get something set up. We've talked about that, and they weren't able to do the spring one, and there's a possibility we will be able to do something on next fall. Staff has been talking about backup generation for the RO plant. We don't have backup right now. Wade was able to get electrical bills to Don so that we can look at what our usage requirements are, and we'll be looking at the possibilities are 1 or 2 separate generators depending upon the switchover complications of running 1 generator for 2 facilities. So we'll look into that and see what's most cost effective for you, and that'll be on our budget for next year. The Streets Department is talking about next year looking at getting their own crack seal machine. It's not that expensive, and they can be going through when they have down period of time to go and keep up with some of the cracks that are developing in the streets. And I think that covers all of my items.
I did notice that the benches have been installed at Lake Ehrlich. They look very nice. Recently.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Grandquist?
Yes.
Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Taylor?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
And Mayor Austin.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
I would like to point out that Keith Staggs, our Parks Director, was here just in case that you had any questions about the True Green contract. Some of the new board members haven't met Keith Staggs, and I just want to introduce him over here in the blue shirt. Keith Staggs been with us several months now, and he's the one responsible for trying to turn the town back green. So you'll see him and his crews out and around, and Keith Staggs, Board of Trustees.
Welcome. All right. We moved the next item for the Milliken Beef and Bean Day up on the action agenda. 2 of us serve on the Milliken Events Committee, so we will need to recuse ourselves.
Mayor Pro Tem and Board of Trustees. I'm here representing the Milliken Events Committee in regards to this year's Beef and Bean Day. So I'm going to run through a little PowerPoint here and kind of give you some highlights and talk about a couple of things as we go along. So as you know, with COVID and the virus and everything that's going on, we're this year for the 2020 Beef and Bean Day, we're going to be running into some challenges. One of them is going to be, usually we plan these things out several months in advance, and we're really going to come down to about a month planning time because we'll have to have everything wrapped up prior to the actual day. We're also going to have limited fundraising opportunities during that time, as well as we'll have to dance within the guidelines of the CDC and the state. So I do have, I printed out the guidelines for June 17th, 2020. So some of the guidelines there are TRPR is considered in their extra large size venue, so it's greater than 11,000 square feet. So with that, part of that is they're saying that if you have an activity or something going on, you can have no more than 175 people per activity. So we were proposing, the recommendations are, things are going to be spread out. We should never have more than 175 per area. So we should be okay there. Also, still practicing the 6 feet social distancing, and we will also have the extra hand washing stations available. So the next slide here, you're going to see some of the things that we are recommending be canceled this year. So the first one, FR is the Front Range Fire and Rescue. They usually do the pancake breakfast. We are canceling that for safety concerns as well as some current concerns on their end. If you look down the list, you're going to see the main parade, pet parade. That's pretty self-explanatory there. They're all for either safety, time, or support concerns. So the next slide here would be showing what the Milliken Events Committee is recommending and that we would like to bring to you guys. So on our group of core volunteers, we have 2 couples within that group that are professional chefs. And they have kind of volunteered to kind of spearhead the pancake breakfast. We would like to scale that back to not include eggs, just the pancakes, meat, coffee, juice. And then we're pretty excited about the next item on the list. We have a company that has committed to 4 hot air balloons. And we would like to see those placed at individual parks on the east side of town. Obviously, that's going to be contingent on weather and things like that. The parks are still to be determined based on available space to be able to lift them off. And then the following items under that TRPR bullet is just things that we would have out at TRPR. Of course, out onto the right, you're going to see extra hand washing stations and sanitizer as well. TRPR will, again, allow the use of their washroom facilities, and they will have a staff there that will also clean the facilities as well. So we would like to have out at TRPR some vendors. Again, those would be widely spaced and way scaled back. Food truck roundup. With the food truck roundup, we will be in contact with the Weld County food department there because they require an application and their own set of rules there that we will have to get with them to find out all the specifics on that. We have contacted them and we will be submitting an application. The next item on there is music. As you well know, we usually run music throughout the day. This is going to be kind of contingent on everybody's availability, whether we run a DJ all day, whether we have a band between 5 and 9, or a combination thereof. Because it's very hot in August, we would like to once again have the tents with misters, so folks that come out can get some sort of relief if it's super, super hot that day. Airbound is the group that we go to that supplies some of our activities that we do at the different events. And we're looking at a water activity with them. They have their own set of guidelines that they are using. So I just briefly heard back from them yesterday, so I'll find out more about that as we move along. But we would like to offer some sort of a water activity. We think we can do this one safely. Horseshoes and cornhole. This was something the committee talked about quite a bit. There were some that were pro and some that were con for this activity. TRPR is currently running horseshoe leagues. So it was discussed, we voted on it, the vote came back to go ahead and give it a try. With this, we would like to include with any activity that anybody would be participating in, a waiver. They would need to sign a waiver that would release the town, the committee, anybody associated with the event, harmless if they were to contract COVID. So that's definitely something we would be having anybody participating sign. And then the beer garden, the Burnout Grill has offered to sponsor that for us this year using only tip certified bartenders and more than likely the individual containers so there's no cross-contamination anywhere. And then the last item, oh, there's 2 more items on there. So fireworks, we would like to do the fireworks again this year. Again, we would like to have the signs posted throughout the park that basically say, you know, you need to practice your social distancing, you know, because we're not the social distancing police. We can't really go out there and monitor that as far as just recommendations. Hopefully people can be responsible during the event, but we would like to see that go on. And then worship in the park, we have contacted the church. The church has not gotten back to us quite yet. So that's still kind of we're not sure on that. So the next area comes to the funding. So
You have a
when we
question?
do these events, we usually borrow
You have a
tables and
question.
chairs from, yes,
Back on the last slide, where would the pancake breakfast be held?
TRPR.
Outside? Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So when it comes to the funding part, you know, usually we borrow these chairs a little bit from here and there and everywhere. So, and town staff usually picks them up, delivers them, and then part of it is trying to get them back to everywhere that they go, which sometimes can be a little bit harder to do. So since we're scaling back this year's event, the committee budgeted for Beef and Bean Day, Trick or Treat Street, which I'll explain that asterisk in a moment, and Festival of Lights. So with any remaining funds, we would like to purchase tables, chairs, and storage racks for the town of Milliken to use at future events. So the asterisk, the Johnstown Milliken Chamber of Commerce, I guess, is no more. So the Milliken Events Committee will coordinate with the Milliken Police Department to try to cover that event and the lunchtime event there. So our requests are approval of the presented activities for the 2020 Beef and Bean Day on Saturday, the 8th of 2020. And the second request would be any remaining funds the committee would like to use to purchase tables, chairs, and the racks to support the town events. I do have a breakdown of what the racks would cost and the chairs would cost if anybody is interested in that. That's not on the slide. So I'm ready for questions if anybody has any. Yes?
So, we give the committee so much money in our town budget. Why does you have to come to approval for the town board to purchase tables and chairs?
It's my, go ahead.
I was just going to say, my understanding of that in the presentation by Kathy, since we have the mayor on that board, she just wanted an endorsement from the board that they would be purchasing something that wasn't on the list, that was on the budget. Since they cut activities, they will have additional cash, which we've already approved $75,000. They gave us a list of items that it would be most likely spent on, even though that's not completely binding. They've expressed to me a problem with getting those and getting them back to the people that we've borrowed them from in a timely manner, miscommunications, damaging and whatnot. And since they had the funds now, they're just looking for an endorsement or an acknowledgement that they are looking at spending that and just looking for your blessing. It's all within the budget that we gave them at the beginning of the year.
That would be
So
correct.
the money we've given them,
Yeah,
it's remaining
I don't
funds.
understand why they need to come to the board for that, so.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Where would you store them?
That's a good question.
We have Connex boxes out by Public Works that we purchased and actually had some shelving built and placed in there. And that's another reason why we would like to have the racks, so we can store them properly, because they get stacked up in the rack really nicely.
Okay. So I did have a question on the vendors.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the business vendors? Or?
Yes.
Okay. So not bringing in like barbecue trucks? just
No,
a
we're
food
not
truck
gonna,
roundup
we're not gonna
and-
do that. We
Okay.
actually had started out possibly thinking that might be a possibility when some of the rules and regs got lifted, but after talking to those in charge of that whole thing, they are saying no. So we had to pull that out. So we're trying to just offer something out to the community that people can do, and also keep it as safe as we can for the community. But one of the things, again, I brought up during our meeting on Saturday was, I feel, especially since horseshoes and some of those other items are coming in to play, I do think it is wise that we have a release. They have to sign a release. And we did go out on Facebook, and a lot of people were pretty receptive to doing something for Beef and Bean Day.
What happens if we get, sorry, one more question. Because there's not very many activities going on, what happens if we get a lot of people coming?
Well, we actually discussed that as well, and that was something I was going to talk to you about. We are going to limit our advertising. A lot of times we go out and post signs and kind of, it's only going to be Milliken and Johnstown. Now, we cannot control that. If somebody's got friends in Greeley or wherever and they come in, obviously we can't control that. I honestly don't foresee that happening. And that would be something we just have to deal with at the time, being how that is a large area and based on every other year. I honestly don't see that happening.
Any
And it's going to be
questions?
hot. A lot of people don't like the heat.
That's true.
Peggy has a question.
Yes, Peggy?
Hi.
Hi.
So did the fire department cancel, or did we cancel them?
I think it's kind of a combination. With everything that's going on with them, yeah. They didn't feel it was the best thing for them at this time. No, we didn't go in there and kind of bulldog them out of it, no.
And do you have to get authorization, permit, or anything from the health department for each of the activities? It's kind of been my understanding that if you had events going on, they either blessed or denied, things like that.
Currently, we're working under what was released on June 17th, 2020. And everything that we have compiled here right now falls within that realm. And as far as like the food trucks and things of that nature, we will be having to submit an application to Weld County. And Weld County they're sticklers on that. So we go through that process every year. I'm sure this year it'll be a little bit more intense, but it's nothing that I don't think we can't overcome. And again, the one thing I do want to add to that, as you all are aware, this is an ever-changing surface right now. So, I mean, from what I'm understanding, we're in a safer at home still until possibly the end of June, first part of July, and it would be moved to protect your neighbor. But, it's going to depend on if there's a hot spot someplace or something like that. So it is an ever-changing, that we're just going on what we know now.
So it's still somewhat tentative then, whether
Correct.
we'll proceed or not. It depends on
We
whatever.
just kind of want the green light and your blessing to be able to at least make some sort of plans. Like I said, we've kind of been back and forth, and from the guidelines that were out there initially, it's kind of backed us into a corner, so time's of the essence for us right now. We're gonna be under crunch time to try to get everything completed at this point.
So do you think this is the end of the fire department doing the
No.
breakfast, or
No.
just for this year?
Yeah, I think this is temporary. I can't guarantee that, but I feel it's temporary.
Any other questions? I entertain a motion. I would suggest that this motion not say that we're purchasing of the tables and chairs, make it look like the town board's purchasing it, but allowing the Beef and Bean Day Committee to make the purchase of the tables and chairs. So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the presented activities for Beef and Bean Day
And I think it's a wise choice, the purchase of tables and chairs and racks using their already allocated funds.
Second? Somebody? Call for a vote, please.
Okay, trustee Wakeman.
I am going to vote no because I feel like it's an awful lot of work to put together, even at a minimum, what you're talking about, and I feel like we're not safe enough yet, so my vote is no.
Okay, trustee Smith.
My vote is no. I feel the liability is way too high.
Trustee Granquist.
I vote yes.
Trustee Trailer.
Yes.
And this leaves
Ehrlich.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
I vote yes.
So that's, motion passes.
Thank you.
And I would add to the comment that if you don't feel safe, you don't have to come.
Agreed.
Alrighty. Izumi. Alrighty, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing to consider ordinance number 782
Could
regarding Chapter 18, yes?
So, do we skip the consent agenda, or do we,
Approved it.
We already approved that.
just in entirety?
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know if we had to go, okay.
yeah.
I'm the new guy.
Okay. Public hearing to consider ordinance number 782 regarding Chapter 18 of the Model Traffic Code. This would be Pepper McClanahan, Community Development Director.
Fire code.
Sorry, fire code. The time is 7:02, and I'm opening the public hearing.
Mayor Austin and members of the trustees. A few months back, Ty Drej from the Front Range Fire and Rescue District attended a work session and went through the proposed codes fairly thoroughly with you. Staff and the building official for the town also reviewed to make sure that these were consistent with what we have exempted in our existing code, as well as making sure we don't create any conflicts with the international building codes that the town adopted earlier. And so this is to repeal and enact portions and reenact portions of Chapter 18 of the Milliken Municipal Code, and to adopt by reference the International Fire Code 2018 edition. The ordinance number is 782. I did let Ty Drej know that tonight this public hearing was being held. He thought that maybe there was going to be a Zoom meeting, which is why he's not here. So I'll do my best to answer any specific questions. However, I'm not a fire official. And that's pretty much all I have for staff report. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, I do know he attended a previous meeting and answered questions at that time, so. What?
Two, actually.
Yeah. So at this point, do we have any comments from the public? Concerns or questions? Hearing none. The time is 7:04, and we will close the public hearing. Comments or questions from the board?
We've gone through it so much.
Okay. All right, I'll take a motion on the ordinance.
I move to adopt ordinance number 782, an ordinance repealing and reenacting portions of Chapter 18 of the Milliken Municipal Code and adopting by reference the International Fire Code 2018 edition.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Trailer?
Yes.
Trustee Grandquist?
Yes.
Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Now we have the public hearing to consider ordinance number 783, the model traffic code. This will be presented by Matt Gould, town attorney. The time is 7:05, and I'm opening the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor Austin. The purpose of the adoption of the 2020 Model Traffic Code is essentially to stay consistent with state statutes governing traffic. In addition, we have also added a few provisions related to traffic that our firm discussed with the chief of police and also with town staff, including we inserted a provision that sets 25 miles per hour in any residence district as the standing speed limit unless otherwise posted, and 15 miles per hour in any alley. I believe that the other changes have been before you all previously. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there any public comment? No. Hearing none, the time is 7:06. I am closing the public hearing. Comments and questions from the board?
I'm here.
None.
None.
None? I'll take a motion on the ordinance.
I move for approval and adoption of ordinance number 783, an ordinance for the regulation of traffic by the town of Milliken, Colorado, adopting by reference the 2020 edition of the Model Traffic Code, repealing all ordinance in conflict therewith, and providing penalties and violations thereof.
I second it.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Trailer?
Yes.
Trustee Grandquist?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion passed.
We're through that. We're now down to the discussion agenda. I believe our town administrator has some comments to present in relation to board questions. Did you want to go through each item, or do you just want us to present questions to you?
Oh, you can present questions.
Okay. All right.
That's what?
No, I was just wondering if I didn't know.
Mayor Austin, I believe it would be appropriate to amend the agenda to reflect the discussion we're going to have. There's no mention of this on the agenda, so I think that would be appropriate at this point.
Okay. So we're amending the agenda to include discussion with the town administrator on issues and concerns. Do I need to take a motion on that?
Yes, I believe so.
I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the change in the discussion agenda.
Second?
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Grandquist?
Yes.
Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Trailer?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll lead off with the first question. It was in the first quarter of this year in the Sunfield subdivision, the bottom lift was put on the road. About 6 weeks ago, I noticed the top lift had been put on, and I asked you about it, and you didn't really know why that had happened, and you were gonna get back to me. And then it's come to my attention that apparently, did you instruct that top lift to be put on and the road finished in Sunfield subdivision? Or how did that happen?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
The Sunfield subdivision, okay?
Yeah.
We don't have any houses built yet,
Right,
yet the top lift is on the road,
yes.
okay? And we were wondering why. Because normally, we only put the first lift on, so construction traffic uses just the first lift, and we repair it, and then when houses are built, we put the final lift on, and the warranty takes effect.
I believe that a proof roll was done on it. They put down a first lift, and I think there was a request from John of Lot Holdings to hold off on the second lift until springtime. John Vasquez was their town engineer, and I was there during that meeting. I was being an observer of the process, and I think that was an agreement between John Vasquez and John Hall. We have a new street director, Scott Clem, who has a few concerns with regards to our process. This is our standard process, our process that we've done in the past. And Scott was in a meeting with, I believe it was John Hall, and was there someone else there, John? Would you remember?
I don't remember specifically.
But we were talking about changing the process with,
This is the most recent.
yeah, just recently.
Yeah, it was a pre-con meeting for phase 2.
Pre-con, yeah. And we were talking about some changes. We adopted a new street design standard that came into play prior to the Sunfield first phase that they were doing. And the way that we adopted the street design standards was that I would be able to make changes to it under advice of staff to the document and update the board on that quarterly or semi-annually. When we were in the pre-con meeting with John's contractors, we talked about a change to potholing and possibilities of trying to keep from potholing, because potholing degrades the street right away. And our standard process that we've used of potholing was of a concern to our new streets director, and he suggested something that we do if we need to pothole, and John Hall was agreeable to that process. But other than that, I don't know. Ask me a specific question and I'll let you know what I remember, but I don't have any notes with me about that walkthrough that we did.
Okay, because in our design criteria, it says that we put the first lift on and it's used, and then the final lift goes on later. And this is what we're trying to, it's on page 46 of the design criteria.
I think John was hopeful of getting it on last year, but ran into the asphalt company shut down, and his concern was trying to get his bond back. So I think we made a concession and agreement to allow that to happen in the springtime.
So
Okay.
my understanding,
I don't remember exactly.
my understanding is after the second lift goes on, that's when the town accepts the road and the warranty starts. Is that correct?
Yes.
So why do we do that before we have all the construction traffic and all the concrete trucks and everything running over that? And we don't even have a house up there yet.
I'd have to check with our,
So that means the town's liable for that road after 1 year. That's why we don't put a top lift on until construction's done. And then we accept the road,
I'd have to
and then we
check.
get a 1 year warranty.
And we've talked about 2-year warranties too, but we aren't in that, or I'd have to check with John Vasquez. Pepper, do you have some input on that?
Just that the development agreement, the warranty period is 2 years, and it is in code as well.
Okay.
So 2 years after the top lift,
Yes.
starting when the top lift.
2 years after probationary acceptance, and, I'll let Tim Scott weigh in on what that means.
Okay, so it looks like.
And there was a final walkthrough after the second lift with Don Stonebrink and was it Scott Clem? And there were a couple of issues. There was a water line that, a water cap that wasn't exposed. There was a cracked pan, and Lot Holdings got that fixed pretty quickly. I don't remember what the engineer signed, when he signed off on it, but they did sign that off after they repaired the things that were pointed out. I think, was there anything else from the water department, just that water? And there was also a cement collar to something, I think, that was on a storm drain or something. There were 3 things that were exceptions, and those were corrected, and then I think John Vasquez signed off on that. Are you aware of when that happened, Pepper?
I believe the signatures were in May, but the punch list was just recently completed.
Okay.
And those documents just recently were to Lot Holdings, is my understanding, the probationary acceptance.
Okay,
That's what you're talking about?
I believe so.
Okay. That answers my question on that question. Does somebody else have a question? We'll go around.
I don't have any of the paperwork you're going from, so I have nothing to say.
Okay.
Where is it on the agenda here?
No, it was handed out, and it was in an email.
Okay.
Okay. Who else has a question?
I just have a general question. With regard to public improvements, does the town require builders and contractors pay for street signs?
Typically, yes. I think this came up at, I think it was the second lift walkthrough, and I think Brett actually asked me. It wasn't spelled out in their documents as to who was paying for the street signs. And I think it was determined that it's usually the developer. And I think Brett said, fine, we'll go ahead and take care of that. He was just looking for an answer on that. We had new street sign designs and standards where we have to put an E and or a direction on the sign. And we went through and changed all of ours, and that's in our new street design standards.
Thank you.
Where's this email?
Okay. Next question. There is a question about the flume for Sunfield. So apparently, the Sunfield plat, we had a ditch on there, and that water supplied Ehrlich. It was plowed under. So during the course of the past year or so, there was a gate that was designed and a flume that was ordered to put the water into Lake Ehrlich. John, can you tell us, what was the process after you agreed to take care of that?
We bid it out to several different contractors, took a little bid,
Okay, so who took the bid for that?
Blanco pipeline construction.
Okay, so Blanco took the bid,
What's
and
that?
Blanco took the bid,
Yep.
Who ordered the flume, you or Blanco?
Blanco, the contractor, would order all the parts.
Okay, yes.
Mayor, may I ask that anybody speaking come
Oh.
up to the podium? Sorry, since the meeting is being recorded. It's
Okay.
hard to hear voices in the back, so thank you.
Okay. Could you come up, please? Yeah. Did he order that flume right away?
Right when I released it to him, yeah, which was about a month after we had sat down and discussed with staff that we were going to be responsible for taking care of it.
Okay. And did it come in within the expected time frame, or was it late?
They said there was going to be a 6 to 8 week lead time because it was a special order for the parts, and it ended up taking like 10 or 11 weeks instead, so a little bit longer.
Okay. Thank you. And then the flume and the gate design, we're being told that it was an expensive design. Is there some reason for that? Who knows the answer to that one?
I can't speak to that. The design was given to us by staff, so. I can tell you that it was expensive because we ended up having to pay for it, but I mean, whether, we didn't do the design ourselves, so I can't speak to whether it was designed affordably or not. I'm not 100% sure. It's the first one I've ever built, so.
I'm sorry, did you say this is the first one you've built?
This is the first one personally that I've been involved in building. Yeah, typically we don't have to build gate flumes in the development world, so.
Okay. All right. So we don't really know in relation how expensive it was.
Yeah, I mean, compared to what we were replacing, it was definitely, it was much more extravagant than what we were replacing, but
Was there a cost comparison done at all?
I have no idea what the town paid for the other one. It was probably, shoot, I don't know how many years old, 30, 40 years old, who knows? I have no idea.
I guess
It was on the Ehrlich farm. Trustee Ehrlich might know how much that was.
Well, I'm sorry, what I mean is with the new structure that's being built, did anybody do quotes from and see if the price was actually higher than what you thought? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that we had budgeted or anything, because we weren't aware that we were going to be the ones that were taking the responsibility of paying for it and constructing it, so we didn't have any type of budget that would have been busted or anything like that. I know staff was working on a different flume, so I'm not sure cost-wise what that one cost. I'm not too sure, but we weren't really basing it off anything, so it's just, I did have just looking at it, what we were replacing a couple hundred feet away compared to what was built, it's much more extravagant than what we were replacing. But other than that, I have no idea cost comparison, whether it was over-designed or under-designed or what. We weren't involved in the design process. So I can't speak to that.
So with regard to the design, does anybody know why it had to be so extravagant?
Well, let me comment first, and then we'll let the water guy talk.
Okay.
John and I were out there looking at the spot. You had talked with Chris Thompson before I got there, and you said that you had it all worked. You had it kind of cut out, had some riprap there, and said, I don't know anything about flumes. Could you get it designed? I got a hold of our water guy, Forrest Leaf, who used to work for Lot Holdings, and he designed it. I never passed the cost of that bill on to Lot Holdings. The town paid the design work for the flume, the box and flume. And I gave, we needed to get a copy to the Hillsborough for them to approve it. To move, there's quite a process to go through to move a head gate from one spot to another. And John had worked with Chris on that. They came up with an agreement at that spot, which worked out for where his houses were and where his, there's also a road access in along the detention pond there, how to get past that, how to get the water around and over into Ehrlich Lake. It had to coordinate with his stormwater design. So there was a lot involved into it. And then, I'm sorry, Don, go ahead from there.
That's okay.
What I can tell you about it is we met with Forrest Leaf, our water engineer, and we met with the ditch writer, Chris Thompson. Chris instructed us in what was needed to make that happen, as far as the gate to supply water to the flume, and the other gate that would limit the water flowing down would allow that to happen. He also told us where the flume needed to be and what needed to happen above it as far as a trash grate, and Forrest engineered it to what he required. And that's where the design came from.
Thank you.
The replacement that John's talking about is several decades older. And this one is probably an upgrade, yeah, but it's similar. It's a 1-foot partial flume with a gate to allow the water to go to it.
So it sounds like it was necessary.
Yes.
Do you still need me up here?
No, thank you. Well, thank you very much. Sorry.
Thank you for doing that.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the board on the gates, the flume, the Sunfield subdivision?
I guess I'm still curious. I was over there today, and there's a lower area. It looks like it's a retention area. That's kind of partially filled with water, and the slope off of the sidewalk, the sod's almost floating. So I'm kind of trying to understand what we're using potable water to water all that,
Yes.
but we have non-pot available.
No. How many certs did they use for their non-pot system? Was it 4 or 5?
You mean the certificates?
Yes.
Cultural certificates? Oh, John, help me out here.
Are we talking about open space irrigation?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is potable water.
Yeah,
It will
but
always be
you
potable?
dedicated 4 or 5 certs for,
Yeah, we dedicated about 7 acre feet, I believe. I wouldn't hold me on that. But yes, it is, your question, to answer your question, it's potable water. We were unable to obtain non-pot for that subdivision. I should walk up.
Sorry,
they don't have
we don't have a
a,
roaming mic yet.
they don't have a
Yeah.
raw water system up there that
Yeah,
would work.
during the approval process, we were trying to get a non-pot system in Sunfield, and because of there was an issue with the dedication of water, we ended up not being able to achieve that. So all the open spaces is potable water, irrigated by potable. So it's on the potable irrigation
And that's
tabs.
indefinite, or that's for a time?
Indefinite.
Indefinite, probably, yeah. I mean, I guess at some point, there could be potential to change it.
And are those certs specific for potable water?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And is there or was there a reason that you were not able to use, or, like we've got a lot of non-pot water is what I understand. Or we weren't able to utilize that?
We don't have usable non-pot water.
Yeah, do you want to speak on that one?
Yeah, please.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm Brett Hall. We've had this before the town board before, but the town made a decision that in order to use raw water, that it would have to go through court first. That's a 7 to 8 year process. So therefore it made it unusable. We did have the availability, and we did have the water, and we did intend to use the raw water. In fact, we intended to build a lake there where the pond was. That was our original plan. The town notified us that they would, one, no longer accept raw water systems, that they would have to be private, some of the systems now, and also two, that it had to go through court before they would, even though it's a private system, they still wanted it to go through court. We brought that back to the town board, explained to them that we can't wait 7 years to do something, so that's why it didn't go non-pot. A couple other things while I'm up here. I was going to just kind of summarize this all at once for you, but the first lift of paving, in the fall, it was our intent to leave bottom lift. We've done that before sometimes, and sometimes we hadn't. But we were informed by the town that they would not issue building permits, and they would not release our security until we put the second lift on. So we had no choice but to put the second lift on under that policy. So we needed to be able to pull building permits. That's why we built the project. So the ditch design is a really good design on the flume. You know, it's top of the line. You got the Cadillac version, maybe the right way to do it. It works great. The original problem with that was it wasn't on our plans to relocate. It was the town system, and there was a lot of confusion. I'm not going to take the blame or blame anyone for that. But in order to make sure it got done, we did agree to pay for it and do the relocation. So it did cause some delay at the end for us because that went on all winter long, back and forth of who was responsible, who wasn't responsible. So we were told that the town didn't have any money budgeted for that, so we stepped up and agreed to pay for it. And we accepted the design that the town had on that issue. So that's kind of the ones we've covered so far. So if you have any questions.
I do have a question. I don't know if you want to stay there or.
Sure, I can stay here.
I don't know if it's the question there or for Tim, but as far as kind of backing up to the very beginning, it seems to me, after looking at the plats, like the ditch itself kind of got missed. It was, neither party realized it or something along that lines. Is that, it wasn't on any of the drawings?
Well, there's actually a note to be abandoned on the, right where the flume came in.
Okay.
And I don't know, you know, an engineer put to be abandoned, and it showed the ditch being.
I don't think that's true.
It is, but, and then it shows where the water could have run through the new drainage way.
Okay.
But then the drainage way in the past would have, it depends on who has ownership of the drainage way. So that drainage way there and all storm sewer on this project now is private. It's owned by the Metro District. It's not owned by the town. So that became kind of a jurisdictional issue. Can you run town water through it? And is it even appropriate to run it through?
Right.
We actually tried, and we got a lot of silt with it.
Yeah,
And it wasn't really the best way to go. We tried it. And, you know, we tried and failed, really. It just didn't make sense. So there's the way it is now, it comes right out of the ditch into a pipeline into the bottom of the ditch. It's a nice pipe. It's really a nice system. So it is a deluxe. It's a much better solution. It took a lot of processes to get there, but it is a nice system. So kind of.
So is it fair to say?
The exact day we wanted to get it, probably not. It might, you know.
Okay. Is it fair to say that the ditch was graded over because of that abandonment notation?
The grading plan of the project showed it being filled in graded over. And it probably should have been addressed.
Okay.
Probably both by our engineer and also cut by the town.
Right.
Probably, it's our engineer probably should have, you know, there was a note that just said where the structure was to be abandoned, and, you know, abandoned in what?
Yeah.
You know, that was a simple thing, but the ditch itself, it's on the grading plan, you can see it's showing, and it's showing the existing grade of the ditch, and it's showing the new grades with the ditch gone.
Okay.
So it was showing that the ditch went out on the grading plan. So when the dirt contractor came in, he pulled up his grading plans, got in his scrapers, and the ditch was gone.
Okay.
Exactly as per the grading plan, so the approved grading plan. So not that that was, but then, you know, we did find, well, we've got a big ditch there. It's, you know, 100 times what we had. And even the previous one was not really an adequate ditch for long term anyway. So, but it wasn't the right final solution. I think we have the final solution now. It's a good solution.
So the silt that I see and some of that's what looks like seepage. I don't see a direct flow into where that body of water is right now.
No, that body of water
is that just ground seepage?
That's actually the detention pond.
Right.
And it's supposed to take the excess flow.
Right.
And hold the water and then slowly release it back. So that it's acting the way it's supposed to based on grades. And so when you have a huge amount of water, it's supposed to fill up and drain back out. Right now, there's water coming from the Hillsborough ditch into it, which is flowing and not into the pond.
Okay.
But there's also from the Frank farms, Franks are farming, and all their tailwater's coming down, so some of that's starting to And if we can, we may even need to divert that into the detention pond somewhere the settling can take place in there too. So it's really not, it was never really designed for tailwater, but we seem to be having, we're getting tailwater off of farming, so.
And one last for me, are we at a point of no return on the irrigation of that? If things were to be adopted in such a way that would allow you to use non-pot, are we at a point of no return on that?
No, not necessarily, because there's an irrigation system on the exterior of
Okay,
the deal. You'd have to tie into where the tie-in points are. It would take some pipe work to
Right.
do that, and also a domestic raw water system. There is a raw water system. The closest would be, I believe, well, on the other side of the railroad track or the park, Early Park Lake.
okay,
So that could tie together with another system, but it was not designed for that.
Hmm.
But the landscaping was designed for very low water usage.
okay.
Where the stuff that we're using, not irrigated water, it has a little higher level of green and more grass, and it's a little different. So you get a little different result because you really can't afford to put,
Right.
treated water on vast amounts of stuff. So that's the real change.
There is opportunity to change it if that were to happen.
Sure,
Okay.
there'd be a cost associated,
Right.
but of course. But right now, that system is in the Metro District. The Metro District actually owns the drainage way, because it paid for all the drainage way. It owns the irrigation system. So it's a Metro District system. It's not really a homeowner's system, it's a Metro District system there.
So the Metro District owns the flume?
No, that's the town's.
Okay.
No, but all the drainage where the raw water system,
Okay.
where the taps are is with the Metro District owns that. So. And they do own a lot of the open space around, like outside of Colony Point, and most of the trails and trail systems, those are all Metro District systems, so.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to stand here? Okay.
Don't go anywhere. No, no.
That's all for me, that's all for me for right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Trustee Grantquist?
Yes.
The floating sod over there, I've been overlooking at the flume fairly regular. The
Uh-huh.
floating sod is just because to establish new sod, you water the heck out of it. It won't be like that once it's established. We're doing the same thing over at Windmill Park right now, trying to overwater it to get root generation.
Okay.
Okay, on the pool, it's my understanding that the land for the new pool is owned by the town, and we are in the process of taking the current pool and placing it on the ballot in November to see if the citizens will allow this to be transferred to TRPR. And apparently there's a delay in the building of the pool that you had questioned. So my question is more at this point to Matt Gould. Would allowing Brett Hall to proceed with building the pool hamper this ballot initiative?
Not that I'm aware. No, I would see those as separate matters.
Under the existing agreement, so let's try to get all entities straight here, so.
Yeah.
The pool is owned by the Metro District,
Mhm.
okay?
Okay.
It is, well,
No,
no,
I
it's
don't
owned by
think
the
so.
town, leased to the Metro District, paid for by the Metro District, and then leased to TRPR in the current situation. The reason for all of that had to do with legal counsel saying we can't transfer recreational property.
Actually, our lease is with Lot Holdings, and Lot Holdings got an agreement with the Metro District, and the Metro District's got an agreement with
Right,
TRPR.
okay.
So we have a
Well, but the Metro District.
jumbled
Right.
agreement system here.
So the Metro District, though, has taken over the lot holding side of it. There's been an assignment there.
Our agreements
So-
with Lot Holdings.
Yeah, I understand, but it's been assigned, I believe. Now, there's a lot of attorneys there.
It's complicated, but
Yeah,
you're,
I understand.
yeah,
But
all
within
of
that
this is
agreement-
correct.
Within that agreement, so what happened was, everybody, the Metro District had excess, not excess, but had adequate funding, and one of the number one priorities of the citizens was a pool that would service older children, because the pool is for smaller children. So we allocated, in the Metro District, approved, allocated, and borrowed $1 million for the pool expansion. This was about 2 years ago now, it looks like. Under the existing agreement, we actually have the right to go build that pool, okay? To go ahead and build the pool, and then all this stuff could still take place. So your question is, could we do it?
Yeah.
Under the existing agreement, the answer is yes, but we submitted to the town, who we never did get the right to build for a building permit to get started, because they're trying to clean up all the agreements into a nicer, cleaner method. So the paperwork has stopped the pool from being built. This will be the second season. So that's just my take on it. So the money's there, the plan's there. I think we have all willing parties, but you know, we're caught up in the redoing of all of the agreements. But I don't see, TRPR doesn't believe, I asked them that question, I've asked everybody the question, but I'm not, that's more for your legal counsel instead of me. But everybody I've asked, there's no reason why we're not building the pool, or there was really no reason why we didn't build it a year ago either, so. Because it's allowed under the agreement to expand the pool.
You're waiting for a building permit.
Yes.
Site plan. And it's not exactly correct. At the time we started doing the research into trying to figure out all the different transfers of the permit that the town wasn't a party to, we found out that TRPR was not currently signed as didn't have a contract with Lot Holdings or the Metro District. That was an oversight on their part, and they got that corrected. There were additional damages that didn't come to the town. Prior to that, there were $93,000 in damages that came to the town, and the town paid for that to fix the pool that seems to freeze every year, and they haven't been able to figure out how to keep that from freezing and busting pipes and destroying drywall. And my research of the documents showed that it was Lot Holdings' responsibility to pay for any repairs to the property that they were leasing from us. And when I brought that to several of the members of the last board, that was not presented to them. So it was just a whole mess. I was in the conference room over at Lot Holdings with Brett, and I said, you know, this is just ridiculous. Why don't we give the pool to TRPR? And he said, I think that would be the best solution. I went and talked with Clint. He said he'd have to talk to his board to see if they'd accept it. And the attorneys have been working diligently to get that done. I think we're waiting to hear back from who, Matt?
So we did hear from Pete. Pete's still working on some information that he wants to compile so that we can complete the drafting of the agreements that need to be drafted. I have not heard from, is it Centennial Crossing Metro District or Clint and TRPR. I emailed them, I don't know, a few weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, asking for responses to the draft agreements by today. I did, like I said, I did hear from Pete, haven't heard from Clint. Don't remember the other fellow's name.
Okay, that's on the transference of the pool, though, but what's holding up the building of the pool?
Well,
Let me make one brief comment. At one point, I think that we realized that there was no documentation of TRPR's interest. And so I said we really needed that to document that interest, but we did get that. For whatever reason, TRPR was running the pool, but didn't really have a contract in place to do that. So I think that that has now been corrected. I don't know the answer to your question.
As far as the site plan approval, I'm not sure that we need a site plan because it's a building addition, but the plan, we do not have approval from the town to build the pool. As far as, regardless of the agreement, if the agreements were perfect and we went out and tried to build the pool, we do not have any kind of approval that says our plans, anything is submitted and approved that I know of. So under that circumstances, we really can't proceed until we have that, so.
One moment. Just Pepper McClanahan, could you come up, please? I need to know if you're waiting for something for the pool.
So the ownership question, Mayor Pro Tem and trustees, the ownership question was what stalled the site plan process. It's been a while, so I'd have to go back and look, but I believe that it has been sent out for comment for the reviewing agencies. If we remedy the ownership and, we want to put it back on track, we can resurrect the site plan. The site plan is required because any expansion does require a site plan. So, we can take a look at where we left off and subject to a directive from somebody, I can get it moving again.
That would be the first thing is, yes, whatever it takes to get it moving. Don't, just move along, whatever it is.
I believe the board, last time this was presented at the board, wanted a concise document or someone responsible so that we didn't end up continually paying for it. And as you've heard tonight, the contracts are pretty confused. No?
No?
I remember
They've
them
done before us.
presenting it, but,
They came with a presentation saying the funds were there to build it.
yeah.
Well, I'd have to go back to the records. I didn't know that was going to be a question tonight, and I haven't done research. I'm kind of like Pepper on that. It came to the board, and it didn't pass at the board. That's all I remember.
I don't think that the board has ever,
No, it's never come to us.
It's never come to us.
we've never acted on it, I don't think.
Just a work session.
Mayor and trustees, site plans are typically approved by the Planning Commission. And and it has not been before the Planning Commission. I'll take a look at the files tomorrow and see where we are in the process in terms of providing the comments back to the applicant and making whatever changes the various agencies ask for, and we can move that forward to put it on a future Planning Commission agenda. The way our code is written, the Planning Commission can refer it up to the board for approval as well, but typically site plans are approved at the Planning Commission level.
Wasn't there something that the board had to sign the site plan or something like that, and then that's when the questions came up? I remember something about that, but I don't have my notes.
We'll review it first thing in the morning.
Other questions about the pool, if any?
Go ahead, you first.
Trustee Wakeman.
I don't believe that the board has ever officially acted on putting that question on the ballot either, or given direction for it. I believe that the comment came from staff, but I don't think the board has ever acted on it. And
That is true. We want to put that in front of the board this summer. Just what I'm trying to do is minimize the number of trips to the board by assembling basically a proposal that allows the board to pass on this once, put it on the ballot, and authorize the contract. So that is kind of our goal. We could break that up into pieces if that made it easier.
Since it's a town asset, would it be better to lease it rather than sell it? Just asking. What?
You've already leased it to.
To someone who's leasing it or something.
Yeah, to TRPR, I believe is who I was referring to, sorry. A direct lease to TRPR and cut out all the others?
We've talked about that, but we're trying to get through a lot of different issues. It's very complicated. That's why when we came to the board and talked to you about a gift to TRPR, at that point in time, TRPR's board of directors was agreeable to it. Brett was agreeable to it. There's underlying considerations and everything. We've got a lease to them for 30 years at $1 a year or something like that. We have no say in the operation of it. TRPR is running and operating it. Initially, there was office space for lot holdings in the pool. That's all been vacated now, and it's just TRPR in there. We're just trying to figure out how to consolidate everything. On the deadline, on our agenda schedule, we have the deadline to get this on the Weld County ballot issue of having to get approval by August 12th for that election. So we've been working backwards, and Matt's trying to get something to you in enough time. As soon as he gets with all the other entities, he gets feedback from them, so that we can get something to the board to move that along. What we wanted to do is have enough time to sell that to the constituents so they pass the ballot when it comes up in front of them, so we haven't done all that work for nothing. But we need to get an agreement from 4 entities now, I guess, in order, is that right? 4 entities, 4 attorneys, in order to get that to happen. But that's what we're working at, trying to accomplish right now. But we'll do whatever the board's decision is. This seemed like the easy solution at the time, which seemed like the easiest, best fix. TRPR is a rec district, and their taxing ability is a much larger area than just the town of Milliken, which allows them additional items to operate. The town, doing a transfer to a rec district makes sense and should be sellable to the constituents for a ballot approval and a winning ballot item on the November ballot. So that's what we were instructed to work on, and that's what we've been working on. That's where we're at.
So along that lines then, has the ownership piece of this puzzle been resolved, or is that still in question?
No.
Well, so the ownership has always been with the town. The question is, what was the authority by which TRPR operated the pool? Because all the agreements appeared to have expired. So what we have received is documentation that TRPR has authority to operate the pool. So that's what we really needed, because TRPR was the applicant on the site plan, I believe. But yet, the answer to the question is yes. We have received documentation showing that TRPR is properly in possession of the pool.
Okay, so the piece that's in hindrance right at this moment is site plan approval? Am I understanding that right? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where we're falling.
That's okay. So there were 2 tracks that we could pursue. We could, once we cleaned up the documentation, we could approve the site plan and move forward with it. But I thought that the direction was more to get it on the ballot and transfer the property, and so we pulled off of the site plan. Those things can, I'm looking at Matt for a nod, but those things can proceed concurrently. And we can look at a site plan agreement for the maintenance and other questions until the property is, until and unless the property is transferred to TRPR. Okay.
I would definitely need some more information on the viability of the town giving up an asset by just transferring it to TRPR. I certainly see that there are some advantages, but I don't feel like the board has ever actually given direction to say we wanted that question to go on the ballot and that we were asking people to approve that, because I'm not sure we've approved it as a board.
We'll try and find the minutes of that to cover that. One of the caveats that I remember being a stipulation if we did that was directed from the board was some sort of an assurance that the pool would be operated for the benefit of the whole town and not just rec district or the rec districts, the whole town. One of the concerns the board had at the time was that it didn't become just a metro district pool. and have a caveat to that effect to TRP, or if they ever elected to not run it as a pool, the town would have a right of refusal on something like that.
So yes, what we have included in language that has been circulated to all the parties and what was circulated to the parties with a fairly informal letter of intent, that's a little bit strong verbiage, but it was a right of reversion in the event that it ever ceased to be operated as a public pool, which that means that it becomes the town's property again. And that is right in the documents that have been circulated. Everybody's aware that that's a condition.
And those documents have come to the board?
No, they have not. We're trying to get them, basically, get full agreement on them and so that we can then present them to the board for approval. In other words, we want to make sure that the parties all understand the deal, and at that point we seek approval. Everybody does.
I would like the board to understand the deal also.
All right, any other outstanding questions? We asked all of them?
Pool?
No, on anything in general. I think the pool has been beaten to death. Sorry, I just did.
Yeah, I do have one question for Mr. Hull. Part of our budget is based on building permits, and we have one builder in town. Part of this says that the building permits were denied, and you have pulled most of your sales team out of Milliken. Is that still the case?
Well, that's a big question, but let me do my best here. So, the development world is an extremely expensive world, and we make decisions 2 to 3 years out in front of ourselves. I've kind of had this discussion with staff, and so just to give you kind of some rough ideas of new regulations that have been created and new processes that are been created on the Sunfield project, and what the effects of what some of our decisions are. And one of those has been we have moved a lot of our forces outside the town. So they don't seem like much, each one, but let's take some of the topics you talked about. The street signs. In the past, the town put up the street signs and paid for them. Sunfield, we did. Okay, we didn't argue that issue. We don't usually argue many issues because you guys need to decide what your policy is and how you would like the town to run. And we kind of just put that cost into the project, and it either works or it doesn't. Well, if it doesn't work, we don't do the next one. So that's kind of how it is. So street sign was one. Oversizing. There is no oversizing payback in Milliken. So there was some oversizing sewer we had to put through there. We had to do some of the off-street roads. We had to do the striping on the off-site roads. That was new. We've never had to do that before. You added to the fire fees. Okay, that's a fee that the fire department brought to you. You asked for a larger security that we have to pay through, so it's more expensive to bond our work and secure the work. You also have a longer warranty now. So these are, I'm only bringing up issues that are different, new to Sunfield. It took us almost 2.5 years to get approved for Sunfield, from the day we started our spending money to the day we could actually pull a building permit. That's 2.5 years. So you can see why we have to make decisions that are a long ways out. In the past, we were at about a 9-month cycle in Milliken. Milliken had about a 9-month turnaround cycle. No longer, we have to now take raw water for dual water systems. Water is a critical issue. We can't spend 9 years going through court. So that's no longer a viable alternative in Milliken under the current policies that we were told. So we can't really put raw water systems in if I have to go buy a share of Hillsborough Water and then go to court and wait. It may not take 9 years. I may be exaggerating, but it sure seems like it. At least 3. So we've got new guidelines that the town is coming up with. They might be great guidelines, but it's uncertain. We don't know what they're gonna be. You approved a couple tonight. I've got to go back and ask, what does it mean that we went to the 2020 traffic deal? And what does it mean that we went to the 2018 fire code? Does that mean we have to sprinkle our multifamily? Does that mean, I don't know. I have to, but those were passed tonight, and so we'll research those out and see how much that brings additional cost to the law. It now takes 5 different people to get approval from the town. Our last project before this, there was 1 individual in town who came out and inspected our project and approved it. Maybe your way's better, but it's 5 approvals, which takes longer. 5 different people from each department it takes. Building permits, now it used to be, let's give an example of Brookstone. We were close to done and we didn't have our approvals, but we wanted to get started so we could get a show home up. Permits were issued. Now, you have every T crossed and every I dotted, or you don't get a building permit. They're threatened to be withheld for lots of things. That's a really risky thing for us. We should have show homes up today in Sunfield because we need to sell there now. We're now sold out of everything else, and we just got building permits. And we actually, we had to be a little bit of a babies to push really hard, because if you don't get your show homes up 3 to 4 months before, you don't sell as much. So what do you do with that? You move your salespeople to other locations where you have lots and you're ready to go and you have show homes. Those are the kind of things that have happened that are new. Okay, so just to give you an idea, so what does that mean exactly? I mean, what kind of actions do we have to take? And we've maxed out in Milliken at about at one time we had about 50 million invested in Milliken that was out, that we were waiting for returns on. We're down now to maybe about 14 million, 15 million, and we're going on a downward deal. So what have we canceled? What are we no longer, that we've either canceled or delayed? Building the Hadley Reservoir, starting the next 2 projects. We canceled the duplex project. We had a bank come in and we sent them away. Flex-based project over by Power Motive. We were going to do a merge lane at Highway 60, but some of the off-site drainage requirements ate up a lot of money. So there's a number of projects that are no longer in our pipeline. Okay? You're not going to see that financial impact from us for maybe 2 years until we run out of Sunfield. But as of today, it's too uncertain in Milliken at this time. I know they're rewriting new codes but at this point in time, we cannot invest planning dollars, we cannot invest engineering dollars and risk dollars with so much uncertainty and cost associated. And Milliken's market is, we love Milliken, we're our homes here. But even some of that's starting to change. We're looking at moving office. Lot holding will probably be gone in 3 months. And so we're looking at relocating to the places where, right now, the market tells you and the people know so right now, the best places to be are Johnstown, actually. I heard from 3 people this week, from a business individual, I heard from a government individual, and someone that's the place to go. They have, they're pro-growth, they like you, they're in there they're not a what you can't do, they're what you can do. Yes, we can do that, we can do that, we can do that. So Johnstown is new. They didn't always have that, but I heard that just this week. Firestone has brought in a whole, I've heard this from EDAB. They actually, behind the scenes, say, these are the people we want to take the businesses to because this is where we get good responses. So Firestone, Johnstown, Windsor's had an improvement level. And then there's some places like Boulder. I probably wouldn't go invest in Boulder. I just can't. You can't risk those kind of dollars. That's not the kind of builder we are. So when you ask about building permits and you having to project your building permits, we still have Sunfield. And we still have the water. The water is a key ingredient. If you don't solve your water problems, you can't grow. So that's kind of where, and it comes in cycles in every town, and I've been here a long time and I've seen all of it. and it's come with cycles in the economy, and it comes with cycles in everything. But in general, our planning has stopped completely for anything new in Milliken because there's too much uncertainty and too many new rules coming in way too fast at a pace for us to be able to forecast appropriately 2 years in the future or $1 million, more like $1 million in the future. Can I really risk going out and putting up an office building? We had a plan, it was fully designed for windmills. And can I risk putting up flex space next to Power Motive? We've already picked out the buildings. Duplexes were on our list, Prairie Sky, which was a higher end project. So all of those types of things. So that's kind of when you're asking, and I bring this up, it's what a business's perspective of what it takes to be able to make your town healthy and vibrant, and it's a can-do attitude, and not a, well, we can't get the pool built, we can't get the Hillsborough ditch bypass done, we can't get, the list could be long, and it's really hard, and it's hard for people, but for me, I don't have that choice or that luxury because I have to put large dollars out in front of everything I do. And when we say that it takes huge amounts of time to get something done, we can have a pandemic in between, or we can have a downturn like in 2007, 2008. So you start spending millions of dollars and you don't have any opportunity to see it. So that time is a critical factor, and cost is a critical factor too. So I probably over-answered your question, but it's only fair that everyone hears it. So, I don't want you to come to me 2 years and say, well, what happened? Where'd you guys go? Or how come that's not happening? How come you're not building another shopping center? How come you aren't building anything like we have in the past? We've built a lot of stuff in Milliken. It's really, we're pretty proud of it too. We think it's really nice what we've done. So, of course, I'm kind of biased on what we do too. So, but.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I think we got all the questions answered. Are there any other discussion items? Nope, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Who seconded that? I'm sorry. Was that you?
Yeah.
I adjourned the second motion. I had seconded the adjournment motion. No,